All right. Hey, my friends, and welcome to today's episode where I want to talk about setbacks. And I want to talk about, some ways that we can potentially look at the idea of a setback and recontextualize it to really understand that setbacks are not only normal, but a necessary part of your journey to recovery from OCD and anxiety and stress related conditions. So, real quick, if you don't know me, my name is Matt Codde. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. I have some links down in the notes for some great resources that are available to you over at restoredminds.com, or you can head over to restoredminds.com. Also, if you benefit from this show, please help us out real quick by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes and Spotify. So, with that, let's dive in. Setbacks. And let's first contextualize, well, what is a setback? Setback really, I don't I don't know that I really even believe in that terminology anymore. I'm going to use it in the context of this video because it's common language that people understand that are on this journey. But the idea initially is that, well, I have these, feelings and thoughts that I don't like, right? And so the presumption of what OCD and anxiety is you're experiencing these intrusive thoughts and you're experiencing these high level of emotions, and the pressure of this experience in your system, it causes you to do a lot of compulsions and safety behaviors and avoidance and escapism, to the point where it just becomes this self-perpetuating loop. And the more that loop spins, the smaller and smaller your life becomes, the more disorder is created in your life. So if the initial perception of the problem is that I'm having these unwanted thoughts and these unwanted feelings, right? And because most people come at that problem from that perspective, that anytime the symptoms get mitigated one way or another, the reemergence of symptoms is perceived then as a setback. And I understand why people see it that way. I used to see it that way myself, a long time ago when I was going through this. But what I've come to realize now is that that's not actually what's going on. You see, what's happening is we're having these unwanted thoughts and unwanted feelings because the problem is because we don't want them, we resist them. So when these feelings happen, we don't feel them through, we don't let them go, we bury them. We suppress, we repress, we avoid, we escape, which is just another way of suppression. And so, and they stay stored in our system, right? And so when we have these flare up of symptomology, we perceive the idea that this trigger happened outside of us that caused these emotions, right? Whether that's I touched a doorknob or I saw something on TV, someone said something to me, whatever, right? And that is an illusion that we fall into. That's the illusion that most of us are in, that are dealing with OCD and anxiety and chronic states of stress, is that stress, anxiety, all this stuff is happening to me. It is caused externally. But if you stop and ask yourself, it's like, okay, well, if this causes you anxiety, well, why doesn't it cause other people anxiety? I mean, one of the most fascinating things, and why TBC, my program is group oriented, why group is like a mandatory process in it, because one of the most fascinating things to talk about, to watch, is like a group of people dealing with OCD and anxiety, because all of them will deal with usually different fears, and all of the fears sound completely irrational to the person except their own. So like when someone else is talking, and the most common reaction is, well, that doesn't make sense to worry about that. It doesn't make sense to fear that. Because fear is not about logic. Fear comes from within, and we project it externally. And so when we understand that context, and what healing is about is actually letting go and releasing a lot of the fear that is within us, changing the belief patterns underneath, the automatic stories, the assumptions, the insecurities, right, or this feeling of not being safe, and then moving into states of trust, moving into states of courage, neutrality, and really shifting the entire framework in which we not only perceive the world, but the state that we bring into the world. The way that happens is not trying to be something we're not, but it's letting go and removing all of the fear and the beliefs and the identities that create the fear. So when you understand that a setback, the perception of a setback is that, well, I had more fear come up, or I got triggered and anxiety and this, that, and the other. The mere emergence of symptoms is not a setback. What a true setback is when you start engaging in compulsions or safety behaviors that reinforce that loop, right? Because now if you were able to break out of the loop, right, it's the reason you got out of the loop is not because you got rid of the symptomology, it's because you got rid of the behaviors that were self-perpetuating it. And so if you got out of the loop, falling back in the loop it's not because you had the reemergence of symptoms, it's because you started doing behaviors again. And so that is a setback. Now, why are setbacks important? Well, setbacks, like I said, if more fear needs to come up to be released, to be let go of, well, setbacks need to happen. And if there's certain triggers that you haven't confronted, that all of a sudden a trigger happens and then this stuff happens, that is happening for you. So how the traditional recovery path goes is a non-linear process. It's someone's stuck in the loop, and they may be stuck in the loop for days, months, weeks, years, decades, right? They're just they've been in this state. Oftentimes they've been battling with this state so long just because they're completely assessing the problem incorrectly and they're trying to solve the wrong things. Oftentimes at the guidance of other people as well, and poor guidance at that. So every time they have a feeling they don't like, they're taught to do things to suppress, bury, get rid of, right? Medicate, all of that. And that just creates this pressure again and again. So when the reemergence of this feeling that needs to be released, when it comes up and the person begins engaging in compulsions again, that is a true setback. And how the recovery path works is usually you'll break out of the loop, have some time where you actually move into higher states where you feel more clear, you feel more like yourself, and then you'll fall back in the loop. And what happens in this process is you shorten the amount of time that you get stuck in the loop, and then you widen the amount of time in between times when you get stuck in the loop. So it might be like, hey, I got out of the loop and I was feeling like myself for 12 hours. And then all of a sudden I got, a thought happened or whatever, and I fell back in and I'm spiraling, ruminating. I noticed I was in the loop, I got out again. And that ability to notice when you get stuck in the loop, being able to get yourself out is the pinnacle of one's ability to recover, because then what happens is you widen the time between the times when you're stuck in the loop and you shorten the time that you're stuck. So maybe you're stuck for a day and then all of a sudden you're stuck for a few hours, and then you widen that into a few days, and then you get stuck again for a few hours, and you widen that to a week, and then all of a sudden you get stuck but you get out in 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have weeks and weeks and months, even and then years, where you are just, your normal state is these higher states. And so setbacks help refine areas that you haven't confronted yet. And they also, again, if more feelings need to come up, then that's what needs to happen. So a setback, again, is not the reemergence of feelings. It is the getting stuck in the loop because you are engaging in behaviors that are self-perpetuating it. Once you understand this contextually, and then you actually begin working at it correctly to make sure that you're actually breaking the loop, then you'll shorten the time that you're in the loop, and then widen the time between when you fall in the loop and then when you get out. So that is my perception of setbacks, why they're needed and why they're necessary, because they show you and help you refine your own work on yourself. And they aren't a bad thing. And they're a necessary part of the refinement of the growth that it takes to truly transcend this. And so this mindset is for if you're someone who is not looking to quote unquote cope and manage symptoms, but like to truly transcend the loop altogether. And this is why I think it's important to understand like who you are and what you're really looking for. Because if you're looking to just manage symptoms and cope, these definitions, this way of thinking is not going to align with you, and that's okay. Right? But if you are someone who really has this intuitive sense that like, I'm not supposed to be living in this loop, right? And I can get out of this loop. I can emerge into a completely different version of myself, and I can transcend this. This is how you really want to view and look at setbacks and integrate them in your own journey. So with that, hope this was helpful. Wishing you all a great week and a great day, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there, thanks so much for watching that episode. If you found it helpful, we have some links to some other episodes that we think you might like as well. And if you're looking for help on your journey to recovery from fear, stress, and anxiety, either check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. Thank you, and talk to you soon.